as one. And then we need to add, E item, session 143-318-3, consulting with attorney. One three one dot 11A3. Okay. Those two items need to,
I make a motion, we approve the agenda as amended.
motion made by Councilman McGowan to agenda, seconded by Councilwoman Dobbin. All in favor? Okay. The next item on the agenda is the consent agenda items. Has everybody read through them and have any questions or comments on them?
Mayor, I just wanted to clarify last month, the minutes that are under the consent agenda, unless there's an issue with any of the minutes, you can take one vote to approve the consent agenda and not vote on each one of the minutes.
Yes. So. Anybody have any additions or corrections? Any of the amendments? I didn't mean amendments. Meetings. Do I hear a motion to accept these items? Do I hear a second? Motion made by Councilman McGowan, seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Trippett to accept these. All in favor? Okay. I call the first open forum. Anybody wishing to make a comment, come forward. Limit your comments to 3 minutes. No one wishing to come. We'll close the open forum at 6:35. You have in your packet an item to postpone the public hearing that was supposed to be for tonight and to reschedule that to July the 21st. And I don't think we have to vote on that, do we? It is going to be rescheduled. The next item is, yes.
Man, just inquire on that. Is it going to be reposted, republished and all
yes,
that?
Yes,
Okay.
everything's gonna be taken care of. Yes. The next item is the calling of a public hearing, and I'm gonna let Wendy come forward and give us the information on this.
We have an applicant that has requested the rezone of parcel 05I 05021E from a current town of Clayton zoning classification of CRM to the town of Wilson's Mills zoning classification of C70, which is commercial. This would be consistent with the annexation of said property already set for hearing on July 21st, 2025. A map of the area is attached. We ask that you please make a motion to call a public hearing for the rezone of this parcel on July 21st, 2025 at 6:30.
So moved.
What is the classification of CRM?
I have no idea. That's the
Okay.
town of Clayton classification.
So that's in their ETJ, but they want to be in the town of Wilson's Mills, correct?
Yes, sir.
Somebody made the motion. I thought so. Motion made by Councilman Jernigan, second by Councilman McGowan Does anyone have any more questions? Okay. All in favor? Will be for 21st. Leanna and I, Lee and David attended a meeting in Clayton just last week? It was, wasn't it? We had a wonderful time sitting around the table with town council members and county commissioners and elected officials, and it was just a time. We did not sit people. It was really, I enjoyed the evening. Motive to me. David, do you have any comments on that meeting?
No, not really. I had a very good time. I enjoyed it. I bailed out on you guys and went over to the town of Benson and met some really nice folks over there and learned about a really nice steakhouse. A real steakhouse. Um,
Was all the towns represented, Mayor?
Yes. Well, no, micro was not, but
Okay. Okay, good.
and that's all I have. So, Leanna, town administrator?
Just an update again on the comprehensive utility study. They still have not gotten us final comments on the final draft for you to approve. And, I don't have any excuses for them. There were some comments that were sent from the county and they are still reviewing those. And now I believe this week, the gentleman that's been working on it from TRC is on vacation.
One time they told us that they didn't have the information.
Yes, yes, they had it last month. They got it right before the meeting and they didn't have time, excuse me, they didn't have time to comment on that and add it to the final draft before our council meeting in May. And when I talked with them last week, they still have not finished the comments on the final draft from what the county sent.
So
And
this
these
is-
were concerns that,
ca- did-
these were some
send them-
concerns that the
did-
county had about the way some of the numbers were calculated based on what they know as far as the capacity for both sewer and water. So it's not just about the sewer.
Did the county send them that much additionally?
It was quite a bit. It was quite, I mean, it was about two pages of information that explaining where in the study they had concerns about the way that the calculations had been done. And we forwarded that to them, and as soon as we got it and told them that we agreed with what the county was saying and we wanted those issues addressed, and that's what they're still working on.
So just so I can make sure, Leanna, that was the group that brought that big old thick packet and I was questioning about gravity and,
That's correct.
well, yeah, of course there's questions because we had questions about their numbers as well. So they've had this for, I guess, a month or
Right.
plus. And they still hadn't, are we paying them to do this study?
What we have been paying them, we've been paying them in increments, but remember, this was a grant that we received. This was a revitalization grant that we got from the Department of Commerce, and they've sent the final invoice, but we're not gonna pay the final invoice until you all approve the final
Correct.
draft.
Good, very good.
The only other thing that I have is we discussed last month, may have been at your work session, about scheduling a council retreat. And I should be sending out some dates this coming week, once I hear back from one more about options for that day. And we're looking at a weekday sometime between Monday and Thursday during the month of July. So it'll be an all-day retreat, but I've got to get one more schedule before I can send that out. I don't have anything else unless anybody's got any questions. Sure is. Let's go with that.
I do have
Okay.
a question. Shall I hold it till later?
No, you can go
Yeah,
ahead.
and it has nothing to do with the budgets or any of that stuff. It has to do with a question that was placed before me by a resident regarding the dog park. How come there's no trees out there for the dogs? I'll just let it drop there.
Our plan after we get it to where it can be open to the public is to start adding things inside, and some of that will be shade canopies.
I will pass that along. Thank you.
Trees will not grow in that area, that's why the dog park is there.
Right, what are we gonna put out there that's,
Shade canopies.
okay, cool, thank you.
So you've got two social media policies in front of you, and both of these have been reviewed by the attorney. The first one is a policy on internal social media that would address appropriate use and content and management of the town-operated social media. So this would be the town's Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, things like that. And it clarifies responsibilities for the employees that deal with social media. The second one is a policy on public social media that would address appropriate use content management of town. Sorry, I had that backwards. The first one is the internal for personal social media use that's related to public issues, and then a public social media policy that relates to the official town platforms. Didn't
what
mean
is,
to make that confusing.
I'm not
sorry.
sure, an internal social media, like what?
Um,
Well, isn't that public? Can you hit your mic for me?
Want somebody from the town basically posting things that they shouldn't. It's like a personal account, but let's say somebody gets disgruntled or whatever, if I don't know, let's say Tony says, I don't want to go clean up the dog park. And I'm just going to use you as an example. He don't want to go clean up the dog park because somebody let a Great Dane out there and he wants to vent on the town social media page. It makes the town look bad.
Right,
So it has to be professional, and that nearby every government agency in the state has a social media policy like this.
okay,
That
so,
way it protects the town and the employees.
right, and I understand it, and that's good. I'm glad to hear that. But basically, we're talking one social media account, but two different policies.
so
Po-
this,
com-
in-
Go
let me
ahead.
just clarify
Yeah.
real quick. The internal social media policy really deals more with like, well, and there's an example here on this first page. So like, if employees are representing themselves as a town, creating social media, such as the Public Works Department for the town of Wilson's Mills, is not the official town's page, but it is representing an internal department within the town, and there are policies that they have to follow, such as public records law and the comment section, whether they turn that off or can or cannot delete them, things like that.
Can we not put that all under the town rather than saying, Patrick, no, you can't start up your own public works Facebook page for the town?
Mhm.
Access a official town social media website that they, ordinarily they have First Amendment right to engage in comments and discourse, but there are certain things that are not permitted, such as discrimination or explicit content or promotions or political type things. So this is what people who would access the town's website would see and know is not permitted to be posted as a comment or or linked to a town site. The internal one is a directive for employees on how they manage those official accounts. And it's not really intended for outside viewers to know, this is what you're supposed to, these are the rules that you follow when you do post to a town account. It does sort of overlap a little bit, but, the one is intended for folks to put them on notice of what will or not be tolerated in terms of public comment.
Okay.
And the one other distinction I did want to make is that, you do have sort of official, accounts that you recognize. One is the main Town of Wilson's Mills page, and then you might have sub pages or other pages specific to departments. And then it occasionally happens where an official with the town might post on their personal page, and that gets into like a legally gray area if they begin to comment on town business, and then start blocking people or hiding comments. Then you get into like First Amendment issues with respect to blurring the line between whether it's a personal page or a official page of the town, whether it's endorsed by the town, that sort of thing. So this is intended to make clear delineation between what's allowed to be an official account, and if you do have a personal account, how to make sure that there's a clear line drawn between personal account versus an official account with the town. And there's some recent Supreme Court cases deciding these issues, and it does give a little bit of protection for employees posting on their personal account. So anyway,
So if you do, use me as an example. So if I post something on my Facebook page, no, I'm just saying I have a Facebook page, and if someone from my neighborhood or the town posts something asking for a direction, or what's the town up to with this, that, or the other thing, how do you handle that? I mean, how would I handle that specifically?
so
If somebody, here, a good example, before I just talked to Leanna a second ago, my neighbor did ask about trees in the dog park. And he didn't ask on a Facebook page. He sent me a text, and I said, just come to the meeting and use the public comment period to ask Leanna, because I have no clue. But if I did, I mean, now that I do, I wouldn't want to post it. I'd just pick up the phone and call him, I guess. But if I did post it, and if I posted something erroneous, am I speaking for the town then? I mean, I'm just not quite sure where to go. Maybe I'll just,
right. So
yeah.
you don't really invite any issues unless you start to engage in censorship, through that social media account. And the lines can easily blur if you use a personal account for what looks like official business of the town. And to the extent it's used for official business of the town, it could, depending on certain factors, be viewed as a Town of Wilson's Mills account, basically an official account. And some of the factors, and I don't have it readily in my mind, but there's some factors such as whether what you're talking about is within the scope of your expertise as if it's a department head, if it's a matter within the police department and the public works director is addressing it. That's not something that's within his ordinary scope of his duties as the public works director. So he would not be representing the town in engaging in discussion. Say there was some political hot issue happening in that involved the police department. If he was commenting on that, that wouldn't necessarily be official comment of the town because it doesn't fall within his department.
So if I were to theoretically, if I were to go on Facebook and post and say, hey folks, we're looking to put up some shade devices at the dog park, that's something I really shouldn't do. That's for the town to do on their website.
Yeah, I would certainly encourage you to go through the official.
Right. So you have to
town
be very
Facebook
careful. In
account.
other words, what you're saying is be very careful about what you do post.
Certainly.
Okay.
But
What
certainly-
if I were to say, yeah, okay, I'm going to run for election next time, or if Mr. Brown does, can you put that on your own Facebook page? Or
Sure.
are you
Sure.
straddling something there?
No, that's fine. I mean, certainly if you're all, an employee or an official of the town,
Okay.
and you're wanting to comment on something that's town related, certainly encouraged to use the official town platforms to do that.
Okay.
And I think looking too on page 3 of this up at the top where it says that if you do post content to a personal page, especially like if you're talking about something that's going on at the town or venting about something that's going on at the town, you include the disclaimer that the views expressed on this account are my own and do not reflect the official position of the town of Wilson's Mills. So you're basically, you know, you put it on there, but everybody knows that those are not necessarily the town's views. Those are your views as whoever you are on your personal page.
Okay, thank you.
One other note about these, we try to go through and we changed a few of them, but there are still some places that talk about the coordination and authorization by the town clerk, and it should say town administrator. I did talk with Emily. She does not want that responsibility. So everywhere that it says clerk should say administrator, and we will amend that word throughout the policies before we post it, but
Do we not have a policy that just says that town employees are not gonna do social media during work hours? I mean,
that are not gonna what? I'm sorry.
be on social media during work hours.
So I don't think town has a policy that says that. So certainly some of these social media accounts would require a town employee to work on.
Unless designated to work on the town's social media pages.
I could be wrong, but I think there's something in the policy about personal, engaging in personal pursuits on town time, but I don't recall.
There is. It's very antiquated. I think it talks about just making personal phone calls or doing handling personal business or something like that. It doesn't reference social media because our personnel policy needs to be updated. It was
Yeah,
written
I mean,
about 30 years ago.
that's what that's the reason I asked that question because social media has exploded in the past, 3 years, 5 years, maybe. But I just sit here thinking kind of when Dave was talking is, I think we have to have a policy in place. There's no question about that nowadays, but I often see on certain social media, not all of them, because I'm not on all the platforms. But if somebody who knows way more than you do or this town council does gets on a social media and expresses their opinion, trying to be nice, and they say that we purchased land as swamp, for example. I don't respond. It's been pretty hard not to respond because, to me, ignorance is hard to ignore. But,
There is.
but I choose not to respond because I'm not going to get in a this and that for people who, first of all, don't live in the town. And second of all, their posts are about as popular as some diseases. But I would just encourage any of us to refrain from that. I think in the long run, whether it's staff or us as council, it'll go a long ways, I think.
If someone writes on our personal page and they say, hey, what's the town policy regarding such and such? I don't want to be put into that situation. Do I refer them to you? Do I say contact the town? Do I call Peter or what?
Sure. Yeah. Just refer them back to the town, especially if they're posting on your personal page.
All right.
So move.
We would
Second.
need two, one for each policy. Yes,
First policy.
Second on the first policy.
Yes, yes, it is. Yes, it is. Jay Sharp, the one that comes and gives our yearly report. Yes, ma'am. No. Mm-mm.
Sherry,
Sorry.
just, this is it's a little throwaway question, but if we vote to approve this, we're approving it as written, correct?
Yes.
What if there's typos?
Well, I can call that to their attention.
I just found them on, page 1, paragraph 1. Second sentence, last word, "the" with an exclamation mark. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 line down, the word "aggregates" got an exclamation mark after that. 7, and the 8th line down, the word "basic" has an exclamation mark after that. I didn't find any others, but obviously little typos, but
And it's in all of them, 3 exclamation points are in the first
first
paragraph.
paragraph, yeah,
Okay.
3 words.
I'll have him change that.
Okay, I didn't see any others, but
Okay.
somebody has fat fingers like me. I make, I'll make a motion, we approve the 2024-2025 audit contract for the town of Wilson's Mills as amended for typos. Aye.
Okay, I knew that was gonna come up. I had to divide it like this because only the sewer and the master plan have only had one budget amendment so far this year. But the general fund has actually had 4, so I had to divide them out, such as it is. Yes. Mm-hmm.
It's a sewer, not the master. It's not for the master plan. It's just for the sewer, correct?
It is for the sewer and the master plan.
They're two different funds. I didn't realize that.
But you can have multiple funds on one
On one
amendment.
amendment?
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
Yes.
I mean, I do, so if I've tried to read through this and try to understand as best my simple mind can. So we're decreasing $360, correct?
Correct.
But we're increasing on the master plan, 83,000.
No. See, you got to stay with the same fund. Right up under there, when you see the increase or the decrease of the JOCO public utilities, right up under that is also the sewer fund, Tim. And you're decreasing $360 there, so it equals it out.
But then I'm looking under master plan.
And then you got the master plan and you're increasing at $83,097. And then you're gonna, increase and decrease on the second page, which it all equals out to zero. But that's, in accounting, Ms. Felita, whenever you increase, you actually minus out. And so you take the 200,000 that you have there and you decrease it, the 116,000 and the 80,000, and it comes out to zero. Because the increase on the 83,000 is a revenue item. Okay, good.
I make a motion, we approve the sewer and master plan budget amendment number 2 for the town of Wilson's Mills.
Yes, it's the final one for the year. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Well, it won't zero them out. It'll just like take them out of the deficit. Yeah.
Leanna, you've reviewed these things? All right, then I will say, I make a motion to approve the budget amendment number 4 for the town of Wilson's Mills. General fund.
Thank you, council.
I would just say there's nothing major, but, on the ordinance to amend, fiscal year 24-25, go down June. It says that, regular session this 16th day of, June 2025, the town budget adopted on June 14th, 20,274. Yeah. It's right above what page is this? It's page 70, 71 to 74. It's year 20,274. When I read that, my arthritis got a little worse. But, yeah.
Counselor, do we need another motion to approve as amended with the typo?
No,
No.
that's
No?
a typographical
Okay.
error.
Did you want to, oh, okay. Didn't you have closed session as item number E before the open forum there? It needs to be number 8 and adjournment's number 9, right? Okay, thank you. Make a motion, we go into closed session as per, General Statute 143-318.11A as an atom 3. Consult with an attorney.